Now starting with your next topic, that is your apex variables and objects. Till now we have already seen what are the properties of apex, what is the apex language, how it is strongly typed language. Now we will be looking to the apex variables, the objects created and the data types, how we will be writing the apex program using the Salesforce platform. So firstly, we have the different data types and variables that are associated with the apex language. So apex languages uses the already existing data types and some of the data types that are only exist by the apex language. So we have different constants. So we have different variables, we have different constructs, we can use enums, we can use constants, we can use expressions, operators and assignment statements. So the data types which is very much executed in apex is the S object data type. We have also the primitive data type, we have the non-primitive data type. So in the primitive data type, the primitive data type is always using like SOAP API. So decimal data type is used somewhere. So whenever I'm talking about the primitive data type, the primitive data types are always passed by the value. We have the collections. The collections in Apex are I will be discussing as about the data types. So collections I have already discussed how to create the list, how to create the sets or maps. Then we have enum. So enum is all, as you know, that it is an abstract type of data type which stores certain amount of values, and we have the set one set of identifiers. So enums are used to give the combination of the values, and it it is an example that we can have the suit of cards or the season of the year. We have already studied enum data type in our C language, in C sharp, everywhere we have studied. So week of the days of the week are also an example of enum data type. Then we have variables. So the variables which are declared here in the Apex language is somewhat similar to the Java syntax, and multiple variables and can be initialized and it can be declared. Now we have constants. So the constants store the values from the initial to the last scope of the program. Constants are also used for defining the keyword final. We have different expressions and operators. Expression is made up of multiple variables, multiple operators, and the different invocation methods for a value that is already stored in the Apex language. Then we have the assignment operators where we are providing a value to a particular variable. Now we have certain rules of conversion. So the Apex language is used to convert, like other languages also, it is also providing us the conversion from one data type to another. For example, if I want to convert a variable of integer data type, we cannot directly convert it by to a string. We need to write down string.format method for converting the data type to the integer data type to the string data type. Now we have the different data types. So all the variables and expressions have a similar some type of a data type. We can have the S object data type, we can have the primitive, we can have the non-primitive, we can have the enum. So the primitive data type stores the integer, double, long, date time, string, id, or a boolean type of data type is also there in the Apex language. And an S object, we can have the generic S object or a specific S object. We can have account, contact, or my account object underscore C. So now we have the collections. The collection will include the list, the map, and the variables. So the list contains the values which are stored similar in a way of arrays. Then the S objects are the user defined objects. Objects are created from the Apex class. Then we have the collection which have a set of primitives, and map is used from a primitive to a primitive. Then it contains a type list of values. The object can also be created from the user defined Apex classes. The objects can be created from system predefined Apex classes. So the null values can also be assigned for certain constant values. Here the method can return any of the values. So we have to provide the return value, or we can simply write down the void for the data type or the variable which I have declared. Now that in the Apex language, whenever we write a code, it is automatically uh, compiled. We do not need to manually compile it every time. If there is an error message, then the error message will be displayed, but if there is no error message, then the whole code will be compiled. Then we have the class members, we have the method variables, all can be initialized to null. Then you can also initialize a boolean variable to false value. You have the SOAP API also, you have the decimal type also. Then these are the data types that are defined in the Apex programming language. The first data type is the blob type of data type, which is very much similar to the object. It is a binary type of a data type. So all the binary data is stored in a single object, and then you can also convert this data type to a string data type, or from a string data type using a toString and value of method, because every time we have to give the value for the method. And then the blobs are accepted as a web blocks also. We can create the service arguments with the help of web block. We can store it in a document, and we can also send it as a attachment. Now we have the boolean type of data type. In boolean type of data type, the value can only be assigned because to true, false, or null value. Now if boolean is winner is true, then we have a date type of data type. The date type of data type will store the values that is indicating a particular day. Now in date time values, this is different from the date time values. The date values will have no information about the different time slots, but it will only provide the information about that particular day. So we create the date values with a static method. You can easily add or you can easily subtract any integer value from the date value where you are returning a date value. Then you can have the addition and subtraction of the integer values with the arithmetic functions that is working with the date values. So we can use string dot value of method to obtain the date without any timestamp that is provided. Then we have the date time. In the date time value, it will also specify the time of that particular day, the timestamp, and it will also be created with the system static method. You can here also you can add or subtract any integer or a double value from the date time value, and you can return a date value. Next is your decimal value. Decimal value includes a decimal point, and it will be providing you with the precision numbers, the currency fields, the uh, all these things will be assigned with the help of type decimal. Now the decimal is always created and determines the decimal scale. Scale is somewhat related to the decimal places, so you can also set the scale and use the set scale method to define a decimal scale. If the decimal is created as a part of query, the scale is based on the scale of the field returned from the query. Then if I have a decimal that is created or converted from a string, then the scale it will be the number of characters after the decimal point of the string. Now if the decimal is created from a non-decimal number, then it is first converted to string, and then after that we will get the scale of that particular string value. Now scale is then set using the number of characters after the decimal data point. Then we have the double data type. A double data type is always a 64-bit number, and this includes a decimal point. It has a minimum value of minus 263 and the maximum value of 263 minus 1. So the pi value where we have more values or more numbers after the decimal point, we declare it as double. Then we have the data type, that is ID. So this ID is used for the Lightning Platform record identifier. So when you have to provide any ID for a particular Lightning Platform record, then you are simply writing down in the 18 character format. Then we have a, if you are writing any ID to a 15 character or less than that, then it will automatically get converted to the 18 character. Then we have the integer type of a data type. In integer type of a data type, we are also providing a 32-bit number. So the minimum value is here defined here, and the maximum value is also defined. So integer value will never contain anything after the point. Now we have long. The long is a 64-bit number, that is not including any decimal point. So the long has also a minimum value of 263 and maximum value of 263 minus 1. So long is used to define a higher range of values than object data type. So this object data type is supported in Apex. So you have to create a user defined custom classes for creating an object, and then the S object generate type is there, then the S object specific type are there. So all the data types are already inherited from the object data type. You can now convert this data type to any of this data type that is available in the system. So here there is a pseudocode that I have created an object named obj and assigned the value as 10. Then I am casting that or converting that object data type into the integer type. So I have simply write down integer I is equals to integer obj. Now system dot assert equals 10 comma I means that 10 is similar, that object that was assigned a value 10 is similar to the integer value. Then if I want to cast any object to a user defined data type that I have created, likewise if I have created my Apex class, so I need to assign the value to that Apex class method, and then I am casting the object to the my class custom type. So firstly I have created an object of the my Apex class Then I have assigned the value my apex class obj. So you can directly access a method of the user defined data type. Then you can use mc dot, the object which I have created was mc dot some class method. Now we have a string type of data type. The string type of data type, you can easily write down the limit of the characters. So you can write the whole sentence in the string type of a data type. Then if I am having an empty string and if I am having a white space, then string values always follow certain rules. The SOAP API, they will never contain any of the null values and it will not contain any of the white spaces. So strings in Apex can be null or empty and it can be easily converted to any type of data type. So if we want to convert any of the data type to any other data type, so firstly we have to convert it to the string value and then we can convert it to the other values. So here I have also created a trigger on the page. So in as objects I can also use the HTML tags for the fields. So before the creation of any object we have used the HTML, and if invalid HTML is entered after the creation of the object, then error message will be generated. So the JavaScript used in the field is removed before the object is created or updated. So here the HTML formatting is applied, the trigger on the solution before the insertion is applied. Then the new trigger is applied and it is generated with the help of HTML tag hello. The heading is hello. So it has only field hello, goodbye, and also now we are using the JavaScript for adding the goodbye. We also have escape sequences. So it is using the escape sequence as I've already used in the SOQL strings. We can use backspace, we can use tab. We have used multiple types of escape sequences in different programming languages also. This is very much similar to the rest of the programming language. Now we have the string methods. So string methods can be easily manipulated and changed with the certain methods. Now we have Apex classes, we have different triggers, we have the API options, then we have the time. The value will indicate only the time of the particular day and it will be a static method. Then I have two different non-standard primitive data types that can be used as a variables or method types, but it cannot be declared in the system static methods. We can also use any type, the values, so you have to provide the value of that particular static method and then it converts it to the S object field of any type, then to a primitive standard data type. So any data type can be used within the Lightning platform for the S object creation. And then we have the currency. The currency in instant static method is creating a type of currency. This will be used inside the SOQL and SOSL where you have provided the where clauses for the currency fields of the S object. Now you can also use to instantiate the currency in any of the type of the Apex. So since we know that the Apex is a multi-tenant aware, means it is following the multi-tenant environment. So what does the multi-tenant environment means? That we have a common database, we have multiple users and all the records and the data are stored in the shared database. So before executing the database, all the Apex runtime is designed so that we can use, you can easily use the runaway code. So, and we can access the runaway code in such a way that it will allow us from preventing any of the shared resources that will be monopolized, which means that any single user will not be allowed to use more of the database, and the other users will also get the equal amount of time to access the database. Now we are moving on to the platform of the Salesforce, that is your developer.salesforce.com. So in the for opening a Salesforce console application where we have to perform the programming, we are just simply opening the developer.salesforce.com. Now, when you open the developer.salesforce.com page, you will first be directed to this for sign up or login. Since you are a new user and you do not have any developer edition, you need to buy the developer edition for performing any programming activities, and then you need to create your sign up account. You can also provide the role, your username, and then by clicking you will get the sign me up. After that, you can easily write down the username and the password for login with the details you have provided for sign up. You will be directing to the next page where the developer account will be asking you for your basic information. So if you are already a registered user, you will allow the access to the Salesforce developers account. Now this will get open here. So here you will get the certain values, the product talks, anything you want to access here. Now after you have performed the sign in, you click on the name with which you have signed in, and then you will move on to your developer account. There is an option of my developer account. You can easily access it, and then you will find out the number of accounts that were already created. That is the Burlington Textile Corporation of America, test trigger, test account, test trigger again, then new account. So all these things, when it will be accessed, is shown here. Then we will move on to the setup and we will go to the developer console. Why we go to the developer console? Because here all the programming activities are being performed. Then we have different classes in the Salesforce. So the classes are there to provide the template for which the objects will be created, and as we already know, the objects are the instance of the class. Now here we have the three ways of creating Apex classes in the Salesforce. First one is your developer console, second one is your force.com ID, and the third one is your Apex class detail page. So whenever I have to create any class, so the class should always be having the access specified as public, because the public specifiers will provide you the access to all the variable declarations. So we have two types of different classes that are being created in the Apex, the outer class and the inner class. So for the outer class, I need to provide the access specifier as public, and for the inner class we do not need to provide any of the access specifiers, and then we are directly writing down the method declaration. Now when we are opening from the developer console, we are just moving to the setup, and then here on the top left side we can get the developer console option. Then we will create on the click on the file, the new option will be there, After the new option, we have multiple options that are Apex class, Apex trigger, validating page. So all these options are there because we have to provide the code in the Apex console, developer console. So we will be just clicking on the Apex class. After that, I have clicked on the Apex class. There will be a prompt message will be generated and you need to provide a new Apex class name. So you will be entering a new name for your Apex class. After you enter the new name for the Apex class, this page will get open, and by default the outer class will be a public class so that it can be easily accessible in any environment. Then if I have to create a class from force.com ID, we are just simply opening the force.com Eclipse ID, and then here I'll create a new project file by clicking on the file option, and then from the file option we have the new option, and from new option we are generating a Apex class. So for this also you need to provide the name of the class and then you have to click on the OK. Then if I have to create from the Apex class detail page, we are simply moving on to the left pane of the Salesforce platform. That is, here on this you can click on the name, and then the setup will get open, and then after that there is a search bar where you can type for the Apex class and then click on the different Apex classes available. That we have, the first one is the Apex developer class, the second one is the Apex trigger class, the third one is the Apex test and evaluation. So I am clicking here on the Apex developer class, so it will directly direct it to the Apex class detail page. Now here I can easily get the accounts which were there in the console application. So it is being directed to the console application. Now here we have to go to the setup icon, that is here. So in this setup icon, I am simply clicking on the setup icon, and then I want to get all the classes related to that Salesforce. So the classes which I have created, the custom classes, will be shown after writing down in the search pane of the Salesforce tech platform. So you will get the Apex classes. You will just click on the Apex classes, and then you will get the number of Apex classes and the values that are stored in the Apex classes. So this is simply an object oriented programming language that is allowing you to the developers to develop any of the business application on the Lightning platform. So Apex classes are being created. Then when you are clicking on the Apex class, it is asking you to give the description of the Apex class, or you would need to just write down the programming here in the Apex class console operation. Then you will perform the save and then it will execute. So here, now whenever you want to execute any of the query, you are just opening the execute anonymous window. You will get in C programming we were using the static void main or the main method. For printf or scanf was used. In C++, we are using iostream and we are using the cout cin. Here in Apex language, I'll be using system.debug. So here there is a simple program where I have given two integer values, that is of data type uh, integer, and assign those values as 5 and 6, and then I am checking which one is the greater one and then executing it. So whenever I want to execute the program, there is an option of open log in continuation with the execute button. So that open log should be ticked so that you get all the information related to the log for this particular code that I have applied, and then after that you can use the all debug and will get only the limited amount of value, but initially you have to tick on the open log and then execute the command. Here I have executed the command. I have entered the integer value I and assigned it to 100, and then I am providing system.debug I, then execute. After execution, I simply get the log that was created at this particular time and it is accessed at this particular time. So I will get all the values. Here, if I do not click open log, then the thing that is mentioned with the orange, that is long execute anonymous, will not be shown and we will not get all the log information related to the particular code. So after this, I click on debug only. When I click on the debug only, what I get? See, when I click on the debug only, I'll get selected values. And here I'll get the values that were only the debug values. So see, here I'm getting only one value that was a user debug value. After this, we can see when I have to create a new account. See, here it is. Then I am writing down the code. I am creating a new account named latest account. So I am inserting the values. I am creating an account ABC object and then I am naming it as latest account. After this, I am inserting this value and then I am executing it. So what I'll get, that moving to the next console application, I found that the latest account log is also created. The account name with the latest account is there, mentioning all the details. And then we are now writing our first Apex program. For writing down our first Apex program, what I do, I'm just clicking on the file and then moving to the new. After that, I'll be moving to the new Apex class. And then from Apex class that was already created, I move to the new console application. So here I am writing down that hello world. I'm making the Apex method as the public method and then writing down system.debug hello world. So any error, if I do not write system.debug, if I just write system.debug, so all the error messages will be displayed here at the bottom. Then I will debug the program. So I will use the open execute anonymous window. So why I use this? For writing down any of the code and the Apex code is generated inside this. So I have generated this hello world and then open log is clicked and then we execute the code. So I get the last log, the heap values, the allocated values, the heap allocation, every value that was accessed using the log, I get that. Then I have different keywords in Apex. So there is a final keyword in Apex. The final keyword is basically used to modify different variables and it always gives us a constant value. So when I have to define the constant variable, so we are just writing down static and final. So this is the code like public class my C else, then static final integer, int constant. I'm assigning 10 value to it. Now if I tried, because this 10 value is assigned earlier, so till the program ends, the value of this const is 10. So now if I want to change the value or override this value, then I will get a exception, that is the system.final exception, and the final variable will already be initialized. Then we have the return keyword. This return keyword will always return a value for a particular method. Whatever method you have created, you will get a return for that. Then we have a with sharing option. So if a class is defined with this keyword, you can share the code with the current users. It will be applied to all the users that are accessing those class. Likewise, if I have created my Apex class as a public class, so all the code that is generated inside this public my Apex class will be executed in the sharing mode. And then we have the without sharing. So in without sharing keyword, we are just simply using it to declare a class to ensure the different sharing rules for the current users. So it is very much similar to the with sharing, but here I'm not making the code available to every current user. So I'm providing no sharing keyword with our Apex class code objects. Then we have different conditional statements. So here I have opened a console application and then I write down the code where I have provided 100 to a variable that is declared as integer, and then I have provided 200 to a value that is declared as integer also. Then I am comparing these two values. So I am finding the which one is the greatest among the two. So the if statement, I am just simply writing, it is very much similar to the other programming languages. The only difference is that I am using system.debug to print the value. So if A is greater, then system.debug will print A is greater. Otherwise, it will print B is greater. See, after compiling it, after executing it, I am getting the value that B is greater. Then moving on to your next conditional statement where I have used the else. So I have provided three different values, three different variables are there, A, B and C, and all these three variables are the integer type of variables. So if A is greater than B and A is also greater than C, then it will directly print A is greater. Else we will move to the next part. In system.debug we will write down B or C is greater. So it will print here. After I press on the execute button, we will get the result as B or C is greater. Then I can write down for the while loop. I have provided an integer count as 1 where I have applied while loop, and then I am entering the values as if count is less than 11 system.debug count and count plus plus. So it will count all the values which are having values less than 11. So after executing it, I am getting these number of results with the while loop. Then we have our do while loop. So in the do while loop, I am also providing the do while loop is the loop where the conditions are executed at the last. So the integer count is 1 and then the system.debug count is provided and then count plus plus. Now after that we will check the condition, that is while count is less than 11. So here also I am getting certain amount of values, that are 10 values I am getting. Then I'm moving on to the next code where I have created the object and inserted the integer values till 10. So here the list of values are are generated into the new integer. So I have created an object myInts, and then in myInts new integer value I have 10 different values. For that, for loop is applied to get all the values of the object that was created. System.debug I, though this will generate certain amount of values. Now I have the trigger in Apex. When we are talking about the trigger in Apex, we are simply writing down the code before the trigger is being generated. So before insert, now we have the different account, I have created the list for the accounts. Then a new object is created and all the values where I have selected the ID, the name from the account name, the size, all these things are created, and now I have applied a trigger with the help of the if condition. So if the size is greater than 0, then the trigger will be generated, and we will directly write down that there is an error with the account name. So if the account name is already there, then the error message will be generated with the help of the trigger. So account duplication is there on the particular account. That is all for today, and in the next class I'll be discussing more about the Apex. Thank you.